Alrighty, back with another service call here. Unit's not cooling. We do have our high voltage feeding into the bottom of the contactor. However, we're not reading anything across, but when we tested it to ground, we were reading 120 and 120 across, which is indicating we got one leg of power. We do have 24 volts feeding this contactor. So at this point, I'm going to say that there's something probably stuck in that contactor. The connection has just failed. This is a fairly new contactor, so I highly doubt it just put it up like that. So we'll pop it open and see what we have going on inside. You can see here my hands are real nice and sweaty. It was a hot day out that day. Just having a hard time get that bit out of my screwdriver, but here we are. And we're gonna go ahead and unscrew the cover off the contactor just to kind of show you how we got to this point. And for you guys to understand, there's a bunch of ants stuck in there. So we will attempt to clean out the ants out of the contact and then try to start the unit back up. But essentially what has happened is, since that contact isn't closing, we're only reading one leg of power and we don't have two full legs of power feeding the outside unit. So from that standpoint, once again, we're checking if we have voltage there and nothing. So we're going to grab something to try to clean those ants out of there for sure. Alrighty, so we're gonna pull that 24 volts off the contactor to have that contact open. And I got some nitrogen here. I'm gonna try to blow those things out of here and see if we can get that, make a good connection again. I did try to take my brush in there as well and clean them out. So that's kind of what we're doing here, just adjusting the nitrogen to try to blow that out a little bit better. Alrighty, so we're going to put that 24 volt wire back on and we're going to check for continuity across that contact, and we're still reading OL, which means open line, which that means that is not passing any type of continuity through that contact. So unfortunately from the customer, they're going to have to end up replacing this contactor, even though it is fairly new. So we're going to move forward with going ahead and replacing that contactor. If you don't know necessarily how to wire one of these up, always just take a picture and land your wires back the same way. From this standpoint, I'm comfortable. I've replaced plenty of these to wire it up without having to take a photo or look at a wiring diagram. And in this situation, I actually didn't kill the 24 volt call from the thermostat, as the customer had someone in the house and he was dog sitting, so he didn't really want me to go up to the thermostat. And that's okay. You just got to be careful to make sure you don't end up shorting across one of those contacts. So just be really careful when you're pulling those wires off, put them somewhere safe. I would recommend just keeping them connected to the contactor and moving that contactor up away. Best case scenario is obviously always to kill the call, but this is okay as long as you're careful while you're doing it. So now we're going to get that contactor mounted back onto the unit, and we're going to land our wires back the same way, just ensuring once again that we're landing our wires the same way that they came off. Always look to make sure, if you do have a single pole contactor, to land the same wires on that single pole side, as one side will be a shunt, which is always going to pass 120 volts to the outside unit when there is power. So just depending on what type of contactor you have, what type of system, whether that's a heat pump with a crankcase heater, all that stuff can be very important to make sure you're always feeding that to the crankcase heater. In case of a heat pump, this situation is this AC, so we just are wiring it back like it was with no issue there. So this is just hooking that common, that's not really even a common off of your capacitor, it's actually voltage feeding the capacitor, but we call it a common. Common can be kind of a confusing thing in the strip. And we power back up and unit's back up and going. This is a very old 410A unit actually, but from this standpoint we don't like to put gauges on anything unless that temp split's way out of range, and then we'll have to put gauges on to see what's going on with the refrigerant. In this guy's situation, I did send him up on that maintenance plan to clean his unit as well as clear the drain. That's why I got my nitrogen inside. and I'm just taking those temperatures to ensure that I have about a 15 to 20 degree temperature split, and also verifying all my airflow on the indoor unit, because there's no need to put gauges on a system if you don't know what the airflow looks like inside. It's always airflow first, temperatures, and then at that point is we can put gauges on for the model.